In a world filled with chaos, ambition, and endless desire, one man dared to say, "Happiness is simple, not found in wealth or fame or power, but in peace, the quiet kind that lives inside the soul." His name was Epicurus, a philosopher who taught that true pleasure is not about excess, but about freedom. Freedom from pain, from fear, and from the noise of a restless mind. More than 2,000 years ago, in a small garden on the edge of Athens, he created a way of life that promised tranquility, friendship, and joy in simplicity. Today, we remember him not as a hedonist lost in luxury, but as a teacher of peace, a man who believed that the key to happiness lies not in having more, but in needing less. This is the story of Epicurus, his life, his philosophy, and how his wisdom still speaks to us today. Chapter 1. The Birth of a Philosopher. Epicurus was born in 341 BCE on the small Greek island of Samos. He grew up in a time when the world was changing fast. Cities were falling, empires were rising, and people were searching for meaning. From an early age, Epicurus was not satisfied with the answers he heard. He questioned the myths, the gods, and the endless pursuit of glory that ruled Greek life. He wanted to understand the world not through fear, but through reason. As a young man, he studied philosophy and became fascinated by the idea that everything in existence is made of tiny, invisible particles, atoms, moving in the void. To him, this meant the universe was natural, not divine. It followed its own laws, and humans were free to shape their own destiny. Later, he moved to Athens and founded his own school, known as the Garden. It was a place open to everyone, men and women, rich and poor, even slaves, united by one purpose: to learn how to live without fear and without unnecessary pain. Epicurus's life was quiet, simple, and devoted to teaching. He believed that philosophy was not a game for intellectuals, but a tool for happiness. As he once said, "Let no one be slow to seek wisdom when young, nor grow tired of it when old, for no age is too early or too late for the health of the soul." In the garden, Epicurus began to plant more than just ideas. He planted a way of life, rooted in peace, friendship, and the pursuit of true happiness. Chapter 2. The Purpose of Life. For Epicurus, the purpose of life was pleasure, but not the pleasure of luxury or wild indulgence. He spoke of a deeper, quieter joy, the kind that comes when the body feels no pain and the mind feels no fear. Pleasure, he said, is the beginning and the end of a happy life. True happiness, for him, was simple. It could be found in a small moment, sitting under the sun with friends, eating bread and cheese, feeling safe, calm, and free from worry. That was enough. He called this peaceful state ataraxia, tranquility of the soul, a mind at rest, untouched by fear of death or the anger of the gods, content with the present moment. Epicurus believed that when we free ourselves from unnecessary desires, we discover that we already have everything we need. Happiness, then, is not something to be chased. It is something to be protected, nurtured by simplicity, friendship, and peace of mind. Chapter 3. Understanding Desires. Epicurus believed that not every desire leads to happiness. Some desires bring peace, while others create endless suffering. So he divided them into 3 kinds, to help us understand which ones are truly worth following. The first are natural and necessary, things our body and mind truly need. Food when we are hungry, water when we are thirsty, rest when we are tired. Fulfilling these desires brings calm and balance. When we eat to satisfy hunger, not greed, we feel peace instead of guilt. The second kind are natural but unnecessary, pleasures that feel good but are not essential. A luxurious meal, expensive clothes, or fine wine. They can bring temporary delight, but if we depend on them, we become restless. Epicurus warned that the more we desire comfort, the harder it becomes to live without it. The third kind are the most dangerous, vain or empty desires. The hunger for fame, power, or limitless wealth. These never end because they depend on the opinion of others. A person ruled by these desires, Epicurus said, will always live in fear of losing what he has or not having enough. He once said, "If you wish to make a man rich, do not give him more money. Rather, reduce his desires." For him, freedom was not owning everything. It was needing very little. This was Epicurus's message. When we understand our desires, we discover that simplicity is not poverty. It is the richest form of peace. Chapter 4. The Role of Reason and Prudence. Epicurus taught that pleasure alone is not enough. It must be guided by reason and prudence. He said, "It is impossible to live a pleasant life without living wisely and honorably and justly." For him, pleasure was not an excuse for excess, but a call for balance. He believed that the mind must lead the body, not the other way around. Before we chase a pleasure, we must stop and ask ourselves, will this bring lasting happiness or will it cause pain later? A simple example shows his wisdom. Eating a slice of cake may bring joy now, but eating too much will make you sick tomorrow. The first bite is pleasure. The excess becomes suffering. Epicurus taught that true pleasure is sustainable, calm, measured, and free from regret. The wise person enjoys life not by chasing every desire, but by choosing the pleasures that bring peace and avoiding those that bring harm. To live pleasantly, he said, is to live thoughtfully. Reason and prudence are the compass that keep pleasure from turning into pain. Chapter 5. The Nature of the Universe. Epicurus believed that to understand life, we must first understand the universe itself. He followed the teachings of Democritus, who said, "Nothing comes from nothing. Everything that exists, stars, animals, humans, even the soul, is made of tiny, invisible atoms moving endlessly through the void, an infinite space without boundaries." To Epicurus, this idea was more than science. It was freedom. If the universe is made of atoms following natural laws, then nothing happens by divine command. The rain falls, the wind blows, the earth moves, not because gods will it, but because nature works in its own way. But Epicurus added something new, something powerful. He said that atoms do not always move in straight lines. Sometimes they swerve. A small, random motion he called Klinemen. This simple twist explained free will, because if atoms can change direction on their own, so can we. We are not prisoners of destiny or fate. Our choices are real, and our actions are our own. In this vision, the universe had no divine plan, no cosmic judgment. It was a natural order, vast and eternal, and that meant humans no longer needed to fear the gods or their punishment. For Epicurus, understanding atoms was the first step toward understanding freedom. Chapter 6. The Gods and Religion. Epicurus taught that the gods exist, but they are completely indifferent to human affairs. He said, "Don't fear the gods. Don't worry about death." In his time, people lived in constant fear of divine punishment. They believed the gods watched every action, ready to reward or condemn. Epicurus challenged this idea. He explained that the gods are perfect and peaceful, living far beyond human troubles. They do not interfere, punish, or reward. This teaching was revolutionary. By removing the fear of divine anger, Epicurus freed people from guilt and anxiety. Religion, he argued, should not be a source of fear, but a reminder of the natural order of the universe. For Epicurus, understanding the gods was a path to inner peace. When we stop fearing the gods, we stop fearing life itself. We can live fully, calmly, and without unnecessary worry. Chapter 7. The Fear of Death. Epicurus taught that death is nothing to us. He said, "Death is nothing to us, for when we exist, Death is not present, and when death is present, we no longer exist. To him, death is simply the end of sensation. When we die, we feel nothing, no pain, no fear, no sadness. Worrying about it, Epicurus argued, only steals the joy of the life we still have. Think of it this way: if you feared sleep because you would not be awake, you would never rest. Death, he explained, is like an eternal sleep without dreams. There is nothing to fear, nothing to dread. By understanding death in this way, we free ourselves from anxiety and learn to live fully in the present, enjoying life while we can. Chapter 8. Friendship and Simple Living. Epicurus believed that friendship is one of the greatest sources of happiness. He said, "Of all the things which wisdom provides to make life entirely happy, much the greatest is friendship." In his school, known as the Garden, he lived simply with his followers. They shared meals, exchanged ideas, and supported one another. Material wealth and political power held little value. Instead, they treasured conversation, trust, and inner peace. They grew their own food, avoided the chaos of public life, and focused on helping each other live free from fear and anxiety. For them, happiness was found not in grand achievements, but in small, meaningful connections. Imagine a life without social media drama, endless competition, or the pressure to impress. That was the world Epicurus built in the Garden. A life of simplicity, friendship, and calm joy. Chapter 9. Ethics, the Art of Choosing Well. Epicurus believed that living well requires choosing pleasures wisely. His ethics, called rational hedonism, teaches that pleasure is good, but not all pleasures lead to happiness. Reason must guide us to seek what brings lasting joy and avoid what brings pain. For example, drinking a little wine may bring enjoyment. Drinking too much will cause discomfort tomorrow. Speaking a kind truth creates harmony. Lying to appear impressive brings anxiety and guilt. The wise person, Epicurus said, calculates pleasures and pains before acting. By weighing the consequences of our choices, we find a balance where pleasure does not turn into suffering. Ethics, then, is not about strict rules. It is the art of living thoughtfully so that happiness can flourish naturally. Chapter 10. The Legacy of Epicurus. For centuries, the word Epicurean has been misunderstood to mean someone who loves luxury and indulgence. In truth, Epicurus himself lived a life of simplicity and moderation, more like a monk than a wealthy man. His ideas left a lasting mark on the world. In science, he influenced the understanding of atoms and natural laws. In psychology, he taught how to free the mind from fear and anxiety. In ethics, he showed the path to inner peace and contentment. The Roman poet Lucretius, in On the Nature of Things, spread Epicurus's teachings far and wide, encouraging people to live without fear and superstition. Epicurus summarized his philosophy simply: the greatest fruit of self-sufficiency is freedom. By needing little, living wisely, and valuing friendship, humans can achieve a life of true happiness. Chapter 11. How to live like Epicurus today. Living like Epicurus today means choosing peace over endless desire. Do not chase every fleeting pleasure. Instead, seek calm and lasting satisfaction. Value friends over followers or social status. Share time, conversation, and trust with those who matter. Eat simple meals with gratitude, appreciating what nourishes your body and soul. Do not fear death or the unknown. Understand them as natural and inevitable, not as threats. Use reason to decide what truly matters in life and let go of what only brings anxiety or distraction. If you follow these steps, Epicurus would say you have already entered the garden, not a physical place but a state of mind, one of friendship, simplicity, and lasting happiness.